Hey, Arcturus here. Today we're looking at some Warhammer miniatures. Yesterday was the release of Skaventide, which is the launch box for Age of Sigmar 4th edition, which of course features Skaven versus Stormcast Eternals. So today we'll be taking a look at that. We'll also take a look at the pre-order bonus, which was the objective markers. So here's the back of the box, just kind of shows off the contents, the big Skaven war machine and hordes of rats and snipers. And then the new Stormcast Eternals. I really like these new Stormcast Eternals. They're less blocky than the originals, and some of them come with cool little dudes. Probably won't be playing a Stormcast Eternals army, but I do like these models. I got this for the Skaven side, as I've been slowly picking up Skaven over the years when they've had the battle forces or bundles, and I've just never gotten around to actually assembling them to play them, as I've bought the codexes for other armies. So this edition I'll probably be playing a lot of Skaven. So let's get the box open and take a look. Before we continue with the video, if you could like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. If you also picked up the Skaventide box, let me know in the comments down below whether you picked it up for the Stormcast Eternals or the Skaven. So first we'll take a quick look at the objective tokens. So they come in a nice case. This part is foam actually, but it gives it a nice square sides. You could slide it on a bookshelf for display or put it up like this since it has the handle here. You could set it up like that so it'll hold open. You get 3 Stormcast objective markers and 3 Skaven objective markers. So we'll slide one of these out and take a look. And on the back side is the reverse. So I guess technically you get 6 of each. So you could have all Skaven or all Stormcast. Those were the pre-order bonus. I believe if you bought it in a Games Workshop on yesterday, you could also get some command point tokens for either Skaven or Stormcast as well. And I believe if you ordered through third party, you could get a notebook, but that might have been a pre-order only and may be limited depending on which non-Games Workshop store you ordered from. So we'll open up this box. It's quite a large box, as it's got, I think, 80 or so models in it. I think 70 something to be exact. You get the nice spacer here with some art of Stormcast versus Skaven, and then the Age of Sigmar banner on the back. And you get a huge bag of bases, and a smaller bag also with bases. So we'll start off by looking at the terrain pieces that come with it. You don't get a ton of terrain, but you do get several ruins that have of a Stormcast city or cities of Sigmar city that have been Skavenized. So you have, some carving on the wall and the Skaven symbols, the bells, the little warp, lightning, clan Skyer machinery, some warp braziers, plague bell, or smoke plague brazier. So lots of nice little things, lots of nice little details. So if we come in here on the inside, you can, one of these had rats in it, I thought. Maybe I get some little rats there. Some, of course, more Skaven things there. Imagine this attaches to another piece, considering it's got pins. So lots of nice little detail. Not a ton of terrain in this box, which I think is a good thing. Terrain is probably one of my least favorite things to build. So here we have the Reclusians, the Knight Questor, and the Lord Terminos. On this sprue are also 3 Memorians that go with the Reclusians. So you get 2 heroes on this sprue, and then 3 Reclusians. That does mean that those will probably not be available outside of this sprue, since it's got 2 heroes on it. So I'm wondering if we'll get some different kits for the Reclusians, as their sprue has the Lord Terminos and Knight Questor on it, or if they will be a box. Like the Necron Royal Court, there were several for the Space Marines and the Tyranids now that were also similar, where they had, multiple heroes and units on it. So here we have the Lord Veritant. Now this sprue does come with one of the Skaven heroes. I believe it's the Warlock Engineer, but we'll see that shortly. I just broke it here on the side. So this one may appear in its own box, maybe not. We'll find out. This also comes with a Griffin Hound. I'm not sure what the actual name is, but that's what I'm calling them. It's just like a Griffin dog sort of thing. And so here we have the prosecutors. These are the winged Stormcast, armed with spears, and the leader is armed with a trident. I believe these are a remake of older models, but I'm not as familiar with the Stormcast line, so I couldn't say for certain. I do, if they are an update, I do like them a lot more than the blockier versions of Stormcast, so I don't know what and if they are new, they definitely fit that aesthetic pretty well. I do like the wings. I think those are great. You might even be worth picking up some of these depending on cost to kit bash some Custodies as well with those wings, since the winged Custodies are Fort World. But you would still need some other parts, so maybe not. These come with some newer faces. You have some more human-looking faces, and then you also have the traditional Stormcast face, where they're that death mask. I prefer the death mask, actually. I know that's not at least from people I've talked to locally, that's not the common option, but I prefer that compared to the more human-looking faces. And then we have some Liberators. So these are an update of an old kit. I know that for certain. Kind of slimmed down, less chunky, less blocky. Still have the hammers, very iconic, and shields. No real extra pieces since this is a push-fit build. Although you do get a few base pieces like that skull there. And maybe that's the only one, just to kind of show a leader. And you do get 2 sprue of those, so you can make 10 of them. And then last on the list is the Lord Vigilant. So this did come on its own sprue, no connections to any Skaven pieces. This is the main centerpiece Lord for this box, which is Stormcast Lord armed with gigantic flaming axe on top of a griffin, which I think as a centerpiece model, it looks really good, really striking. It has 2 different head options, an helmeted and an unhelmeted version, so you have your pick depending on what you prefer. I personally prefer the helmeted versions, but I always prefer that for Space Marines. All right, next up we'll be looking at the Skaven models. So here we have the Skaven Grey Seer and Warlock Engineer. So the Warlock Engineer, I believe, is a new model, and the Grey Seer is actually an update. You could get them with the Plague Furnace, the Screaming Bell Plague Furnace kit. So that's a nice update there. This was attached to a Stormcast sprue, and since these 2 are on the same sprue, it seems pretty unlikely that we'll see these on a separate release in this edition, but you never know. We might. So next up, we have the 2 sprue of Clan Rats. So 2 identical sprue here. They look fairly similar. These look fairly similar to the old kit, although maybe 1 or 2 more pieces. It looks like the old kit was 3 pieces per model, although I guess the shields and arms aren't separate, so maybe it's very similar. Clan Rats are one of the things where if they were only ever released as a push-fit kit, I'd be okay with it personally. You have to build a lot of them, so having the easiest time doing it would make sense. It looks like they might have actually even made them smaller where it's 2 pieces per kit, which would be nice, as they are rats, and you do need a large number of them, so... All right, next up, we have some Jezzails, which are the Rattling Snipers. You get 2 rats per base, and 1 with a gun, 1 holding the shield. As you can see here, you get 3 rifles, 3 to a squad, it looks like, and then the shields have the kind of attachment points for a rat body there. Very cool. I'm really hoping we get to see some updated weapon teams as well, which would be great as they are still pewter, if I remember correctly. Up next, we have the Rattling Warp Blaster. Small kit, but it does come on its own sprue. I do wonder if we'll see a non-push fit kit for this with multiple weapon options where you don't just have the Rattling Warp Blaster, but also, maybe a mortar or another gun here on the main portion of it. But we might not. It may only be available as a push fit kit. It will entirely depend on what else they have coming down the pipe. I do think we are getting new weapons teams, which will be nice. I hope they bring back the mortar, but I don't have high hopes for that. I just thought it was a cool looking set of models. Up next, we have Rat Ogres. So here's the inside of the sprue. You get a couple different weapon options, some with arm knives, hands, and then cannons, or I think those are a flamethrower style cannon. Some nice detailed kits. Rat Ogres are a great thing to have updated, as the old ones were pretty bad. I think a lot of people, if you wanted Rat Ogres, wound up picking up the Warcry boxes when they had them for the Skaven, which was an inconvenient box to pick up. And then next and last for the models, we have the Claw Lord on Gnaw Beast. So you get a nice base piece, spear for the Claw Lord, and then his Gnaw Beast mount. This does, having seen this in person, this is actually a lot smaller than you would expect from the pictures, which is great because it is supposed to be rats. So I think that's well proportioned compared to the Stormcast. Next, we'll take a look at the extras that come in the box. So we'll open up this one. I did open this one to pull out the instructions already, but you get some cards. It's got some cardboard spacing and some boards for playing the game. It also has some nice art on the inside and some art on the cover of a Stormcast fighting off some rats. Here you get some various cards like they have for 40k, where you can have it for various realms. So probably Akshi, it looks like on one side, and then you also get Giran. So two different realms you can play in, which is nice. So you can pick whichever one you're playing in, I imagine, and go from there. And then we also have some cards for the general handbook, season rules, various cards for the various tactics, some battle plans, the typical kind of cards you'd get with Leviathan as well. So very similar. And then you could photocopy this one and have a scorecard for your games. Then last up, we have what should be the rule book, and then Fire and Blood. So I'll just slide that open. That's going in the trash now, because that will not go. Yep, so we have, Fire and Jade in the core rule book. So we'll just put that off. So Fire and Jade, you get some Stormcast versus Skaven here on the front, kind of glossy cover. And then on the inside, you have all the Spearhead armies. So if you wanted to play, say, Free Guild, or the Cities of Sigmar free guilds, you have them here. Or if you want to play Slaves to Darkness in Spearhead, Goblins, everyone's in here. All your rules for Spearhead, playing the Spearhead game mode, should be in here as well. And then you have the core rulebook. This is a slimmer version than the Leviathan edition, I think, which is nice. The Leviathan is a hefty book, because it had some of the extra stuff in there. But you get some nice art, Fire Slayers, and care drawn here. Get some lore and an index, definition, keywords, how to play the game, some battle plans, path to glory, all sorts of things, commands, all that. So typical rule book. So, well, that's all I have for today. Let me know in the comments down below what army you're looking forward to playing in 4th edition Age of Sigmar, and I will catch you next week with another video.